Thank you, Margaret. I wish my wife was here to hear all Now that I'm retired, she says, this house is too small for two people. But she also had a great expression when I got elected to Congress and she watched how I operate. She said, you know, you're still a Peace Corps volunteer. You've just changed your barrio. So I'm glad to be in this barrio. And, you know, people, why would somebody from Carmel be interested in what happens over in San Benito County? Well, the truth is, I love the history of California, early history. If you really want to read an exciting period of history, read the 40s, 1840s. I mean, everything happened in that decade. And you think about it, I mean, would Mexico ever seceded California if they had discovered gold? The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, I think, was in 47, and we discovered gold in 48. So timing is everything. But in those days, when government was being formed in early California, Monterey County was the place. I mean, this is where this Western civilization began in Monterey, in Monterey, and it was supported by all the rural areas that fed it with all the hides. That's how money was made. There were the early years before whale hunting, all the money was made off of cattle. And if you read about Richard Henry Dana's 2 years before the Mass, he talks about incessantly about cleaning hides every single day. And when he shipped back to Boston, his boat, can you imagine, carried 40,000 hides. I mean, that's a lot of cows. In fact, they didn't even have, they couldn't afford bullets, so they just ran the cows off cliffs. But you know where the cows came from? The missions. They were the biggest ranches. And one of those big missions was ranches in California was yours, here in Hollister. So and when we were regional county, Monterey County, it included all of San Benito County and it included Santa Cruz County. And later on, and Monterey became the county seat for the whole area. And the politics in Monterey were pretty parochial, and people felt in Salinas, where all the agriculture was coming from, in San Benito, they figured Monterey was too far away. They never paid any attention out here. Later, Santa Cruz did an initiative to break away. So this bay, the watershed of Monterey Bay, has been a historical political unit. In fact, I think that the economy of this area and the politics of this area are all a little bit different than the rest of California. We're surrounded sort of mountains between us and everybody else. And therefore, what happens in one part affects another part. So it's not just a county boundary line that it separates us between Monterey and San Benito. It's really, we're all interdependent, because you can't get to the Monterey Peninsula without going through. You can come through Santa Cruz, but if you're going to come down Highway 101, you got to come through San Benito County. And to get out of Monterey County, if you're going north, you got to go there. So that's where all the traffic jams are out here. It's everybody trying, and so when you start doing development here, I think all of us in Monterey County ought to be paying a lot more attention, because the negative of that development is going to affect everything that passes through this county to try to get south, or from south to get north. And what really ticks me off in politics, I think that's why I've been grew up in a family fighting for the little guy or the people impoverished, is why so many people want to pick on San Benito County. They're using this county as a dumping ground. Why? Because everything they want to do here, they can't do in Santa Clara County, they can't do it in Santa Cruz County, and they can't do it in Monterey County. So what happens if they can't do it there? Where do we go? Let's go to San Benito County. It's a rural county. You know, we can just and what happens? I was on the Board of Supervisors, and I was in the State Assembly, and I was in Congress. When you're in elective office, people come to petition you for their needs. And of course, one of the most important issues, certainly if you look at the amount of time that the Board of Supervisors puts on, it's land use. And in politics, we in Washington say all politics is local. The reason is that everybody in Washington is from some local area. And therefore, it's not how the nation moves. It's how does this, whatever we're doing, affect my district? My district. As one of my congressmen, when he retired, and he said he was a congressman from Toby Moffett from Connecticut. He said, "Sam, you'll learn in Congress that your constituency doesn't care if you vote, if you're the casting vote to declare the next World War, but they'll care whether you bring home the money for the bridge." And so that lobby on the elected officials, when you think about it, people who are going to do development, they're going to hire, they got lawyers, they've got planners, they've got smart people. And they're going to come and talk to you, and you know, you run for the Board of Supervisors for whatever reason, not because you have a background in planning or zoning or anything like that. It's education in the fast lane, because you're only going to have a few and a lot of votes in Washington, and you just have a few moments to decide whether you're going to vote for something. And the board, you have more time because they're lobbying you, but they're going to come in and talk to you. You get elected, you're what we call the Peace Corps AB generalist or BA generalist, and you have this whatever background you have. All of a sudden, somebody's making a lot of sense, and it's really driven by money, not money that they're going to make from the development. It's driven by the money that the county or city can make. And the people that are running the cities and counties, the city managers and the CEOs of counties, their biggest concern is that budget. Because the pressures on them are huge. We need to have more employees. Employees want a raise. We have to put more in the retirement fund. CalPERS is on us. We have liabilities for the county. They're always thinking about costs. And how do you supply those costs? Well, the best way to supply it is to get sales tax for local government, because that's the revenue. That and hotel tax stays exempt with the situs. So 100% of the sales tax in Monterey goes to the city of Monterey. They are so rich from the tourism. Carmel the same way. Seaside doesn't have any one hotel, and they, and Marina is beginning to develop them, but they all are looking at the ideal is to build hotels, because that's where they get in, and then they can levy the tax on it called the TOT, Transit Occupancy Tax, and that stays 100% in that community. Sales tax you share with the state, but the majority of the money comes back to the local community. So if you want to really, and other kinds of things, and I understand they want to expand the dump, and people will argue, well, those dump fees are going to come back to the community. I just heard that you're getting just a small percentage of those dump fees. My God, you ought to be getting 100%. And if they're going to expand the dump, where's that garbage come from? Monterey County, Santa Cruz, they don't allow we don't allow garbage to come from other counties. We have a huge dump in Marina, and everybody wants it because it's been voted as the best dump in the world because they do all recycling. They recycle everything. Even now, they're recycling houses that are torn down, all the construction stuff, cement, things like that. But the point is that so the legislators are lobbied that, look, this makes a lot of sense, and by the way, this is the amount of revenue, of new money you're going to get, which can pay for all those things. You need roads paid for. Roads aren't paid for out of development; they're paid for out of gas taxes. So there isn't going to all this money that's coming into the dump isn't going to help your roads at all. And it really pisses me off when I see, because I've been through it all, and I've lost some of those cases in Monterey County, but we won them, and we won them just like what you're doing. The board would approve projects, and the residents of the peninsula would just throw up their arms and take it and referend it. And every time they took it to the ballot, the voters beat it down. And you don't want to have to do that development by development. What you want to do, and it's, I would have originally opposed having everything that you're developing have to be a vote of the people. But when the system's so broken, and there are models, because when I was in Monterey County, I used to say, well, why don't we copy what Santa Cruz, small county, and live with less revenue, and yet they're doing some very progressive things in the mental health fields and in other kinds of areas. Why can't we copy them? And the board was a resistance, don't tell us, but in a way, those models people started looking at them and said, well, why not? And here you have some models of other counties done this, required a vote before they, yes, and then and you talk about Napa and Sonoma. My God, they ought to be models for you, because at one time they weren't a destination. They were another rural area north of San Francisco, and nobody gave a damn about them. And all of a sudden, wine became popular. They had the microclimate for doing it. You had all these big money investments in the land, and and now it's, why is it an attractive county? Because it's rural. What is going to be left when Santa Clara is paved over? The mountains in Santa Cruz isn't going to allow development, but you still have the valley. You know, it's not flat land between here and there. It's sort of geographical barriers, and they'll take care of their own. In Monterey, you'll just be this dumping place of sprawl, and the residents who are here now, and this is what it seems to me the campaign is don't we want to have a say-so in it? These elected officials, they think they're doing the right thing because they get lectured on this sort of the business deal. The business, you got to make, you know, we're a county, we need revenue. It's all about money, and they think that, but the big difference, what I've learned quickly on the Board of Supervisors, is that county government is designed to be a rural government. As the planning department used to tell me, we don't do curbs and gutters. We don't do sidewalks. That's what cities do. Cities are urbanized. City cops have the authority, universal, to stop you in your car, investigate a crime or anything. Urban areas, no. Sheriffs do crime. Highway patrol does roads, rural roads. I mean, it's a very bifurcated system, and it's designed to essentially take care of non-urbanized needs, rural needs. So when the county starts playing the role of developing these nodes or these communities, these centers of concentration, they're horrible at it. You're right, Broomdale is an absolute mess. And nobody came out and said, you know, oh, this is going to help everybody if we just do it. It just became hodgepodge development. Whoever developer could convince. And by the way, if you haven't got involved in the North Monterey County supervisorial race, do, because if we get Glenn Church elected, he's going to help your county as much as he's going to help Monterey County, because he really understands land use planning and how North County is so screwed up. We need to reinvest in what we call democracy. We're not doing it. We haven't had to pay attention to it. And what really struck me in 2020, I was out of office, but I was close friends with Gail Pellerin, who's actually running for the Assembly now in Santa Cruz and Santa Clara County, and she's going to win. But she's been the county clerk for the last 10 years in Santa Cruz, and she just was adamant about people registering and voting. And she did probably the best job in the state, because Santa Cruz County, although the smallest county in the state in land use area, had the best turnout. And it was like 58%. And the Democratic Party had a big celebration because they elected all Democrats, and said, yeah, great, we have the highest percentage of turnout in the state. And they asked me to speak, and I said, great, but if you were in college or in school and you got a 58% on your test, what grade would you get? D. And I said, why are we? Why are we a country that isn't trying to obtain at least an A- or B+ in our voting? If we believe in democracy, and the world's asking us, I wonder if this system is working. I wonder if they like what they've created in America, this so-called democracy. Why don't they turn out? Peru has a better turnout than the United States. I mean, if you're a legal resident from any other country in the world, think of Americans living abroad, they're living in this country, they have every right of a citizen in this country, except the right to vote. All the pensions and security, Social Security, Medicare, all those things, they're entitled to all of that. But they're not entitled to vote. So we get born into this system, and we don't even know we're citizens. I'm so angry with voter turnout in America that I'd love to adopt what they do in Australia, and that's fine you if you don't turn out to vote.
There you go.
Now they put on the ballot none of the above. So here we are in an era where we're interested in voter turnout, and you've got something that really should motivate the voters, is take back our power as voters to determine the outcome of this county. Don't allow people from outside this county who aren't going to be here. They're going to make a lot of profit off of us, and we're going to have to live with all the liabilities.
Yeah.
And traffic is the worst liability in California, and it's not going to get any better for a long, long time. I'm interested in San Benito taking back its power. It's going to make the developers come to this county and really convince the voters that what they want to do is in your best interest, not in the CEO or the city clerk's, city manager's interest, but in your interest. That this neighborhood is going to benefit from something that's done in the rural area, and that'll make the planning process much better. You know, it's almost a bicameral process. We don't have that in local government. You have a unicameral legislature. I said the most powerful political position I ever held in my life, and the most fun, looking back on the most fun I ever had in politics, was being a county supervisor. You have absolutely power on every kind of aspect of government, and it only takes 3 votes, and your decision's final. You don't have to go to another body. You don't have to have a governor or president threaten to veto or beg for them to sign your bill. You're in absolute power. And it will just make that process where their decisions are subject to voter approval, and that'll make them better legislators. So essentially, what this Measure Q is about is essentially San Benito Accountability Act. Do we care about our own county enough where we want to be involved in the decision making, or are we going to just give up and allow these outsiders to come in and dump on us, literally and figuratively? And I think it's time to take back your power. And take back the energy that's in this room on a forum of a meeting. You have enough questions, all the questions you're raising, Q, to come to sit down with the board and say, look, this initiative is going to happen, and we've got a good track record. So we've got, we can beat you.
Yeah.
They may not think you can, but they know that the history is you can. I mean, you've got incredible power. But you have to go in there with what is your ask. What do you want to negotiate? And maybe you want them to hold off on something or do something that'll, if they're doing the general plan, they could write their general plan right now so that so that your initiative is in, not that you have to go to the vote of the people, but you can plan the planning so that all of these questions you're asking have to be answered before the board can make a decision. If I were going to look at what I would try to think about as going back to basics, what does San Benito have that the surrounding areas don't have? And I say, you know what you have? You have rural roads. Not that the other counties don't have rural roads, but that's how you get to everything in this county. And what you have to sell is the things that have been lost in Santa Clara County, and certainly have been lost in poor developments in other counties. I think San Luis Obispo is a county that has horrible land use planning. If you're driving 101 south, you leave Monterey County and it's absolutely no billboards, you're gorgeous, and you get into San Benito, San Luis Obispo County, and it's all these little communities all along Highway 101, they're all going to merge. And then you get into Santa Barbara County, it's open space again. And Santa Barbara's done a really great job. I mean, the counties that are amazing are if you think about it, is Marin County. All the development in Marin County is on the east side, is on the Golden Gate side. All the other side of Mount Tamalpais, the rural area, which Barbara Boxer used to represent when she was a supervisor, and she told me this. She said, on our board, if a developer wants to develop, they have to go to the supervisor of the district. And if that supervisor is against the development, they can't even bring it up to the board. We've all agreed we can veto these proposals. And, Marin County now is a lot of it's in national park. And, the farmers the dairy farms up there were absolutely opposed to all of the acquisition of the Golden Gate National Parkway until the federal government said, we're going to buy you out at fair market value. And they said, we don't want to be bought out. We just grow cows, and we want to continue to grow cows and milk them. So we'll give you the money, and with that money, you're going to put a restriction. That's all your farm can do, and you can take the money and go somewhere else. So you know what they did? They took the money and reinvested in their farms, and they're all there now. They're selling cheeses, and look at all this stuff that happens in West Marin that is sort of a destination for the area. And I think that that's the kind of things you ought to look at in San Benito counties. What can we offer? Because people live in urban areas, want to go to the rural areas. That's what wine tasting is, an excuse to, oh, let's go see the country. Yeah. Well, what are you going to do when you get there? Oh, we're going to wine taste. But of course, you have to drive through all the rural areas to get to the wineries. That's what you really enjoy, is that rural experience. So with all these roads here, how about finding just destination points? Yeah. You know, I love Parkfield. I don't know. I don't think there's many people in the Monterey Peninsula that haven't even ever heard of it. It's in Monterey County. It's down in the southeastern corner of Monterey County. The town has 11 people in it. It's the earthquake capital of the world. And it's where the tectonic plates meet. And there's a bridge across the fault line. And it's an old wooden bridge. More people are seen taking pictures there, standing on one tectonic plate on the other. You know, it's just a little attraction, but and they have a steakhouse. It opens when people arrive. I mean, if you're not coming, it won't be open. Yeah. And you get all these people that like to do destination, motorcycle crowds and RV people, they go down there for the day, and in the summertime and fall they have music festivals and art festivals and all kinds. 11 people, really rural town. But that income sustains that little steakhouse called the Epicenter Cafe. And it seems to me that there are things like that you could develop in this county and to get people to go out in the rural areas. But in order to maintain being rural, you got to stop sprawl.